Good evening, my friend.
Good evening, man.
Please introduce yourself to start off.
Cool, I'm Jafa Dilambas on Instagram. My name is Rafael. I'm a tattoo and scarification artist from Brazil.
Today you did a big scarification piece on a guy's chest. Very first body mod, very first tattoo,
Yeah,
very
very
first
special.
scarification ever. What does that mean to you to be able to do something as a first body mod to somebody?
Man, it's really honoring to start with something big like this. It's very special, especially on scars. I've done many first tattoos, and also like many first scars, and a couple of first ever bod mod that was scars, and it's always really special, especially when it's something big. I mean, the first scar I ever got by cutting was a full back piece. I know the power it brings, the power it means, and I'm really honored that people choose me they trust me, and they feel like letting it go to go through something like that with me. It's really, really powerful.
Can you tell me a bit about the back piece that you just mentioned?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So when I was a teenager, around like 16, 17, I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life, but I started growing some scars on my back just by nothing. I went to like for 4 or 5 years in many doctors, like dermatologists. I grew up in a small town, so this was kind of considered weird for everybody that I lived with. So it was kind of in my mind as a negative thing that I needed to take it out somehow. And all the doctors, they couldn't explain what it was coming from. There was a theory that was like from pimples, and I took like fucking strong medicine for like 1 year, and this was not helping, so it was not pimples. They tried to remove it many ways, like freezing it, burning it, cutting it out, injecting cortisones, like many applications, because it was like many little scars. And all these procedures, after, it was just growing bigger and bigger, because it's a keloid process. So if you remove a keloid surgically, it's gonna grow bigger. So it took like maybe 4 or 5 years that I put in my mind, like, okay, I just want to know if this is something bad or not. Because if it's not, I'm done with like fighting against it. I would just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
But first, it was a rational decision that like inside it was not very solved. Like it was still something that I felt negative on my body. And I think this also brought me to um, like the body modification world. I mean, like I started in this moment of my life. I always loved tattoos, but in this moment I started to research a lot of tribal scarification and modern scarification, which for me was mainly in Europe. I didn't know any Brazilian artists, because in Brazil there was this movement like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, of people doing scars, and then this went kind of down. And there is a new generation coming. But then for me the references were like most European artists that were doing this nowadays. Like Jan was for me like the artist that I admired the most, but also Shiva, Indigenak, Eugenia, also like many scarification artists that are doing this since long, and they are like, for me, I consider masters references. um, so when Pombo, my friend from Brazil, because I started tattooing while I was in the psychology university. So like my life brought me to the humanities thing, and I started doing geography. I quit. I wanted to do social sciences. It didn't work out, and I started psychology in a very good university in Brazil. I was really into it, like caring of people. I even work with homeless people and junkies in the street for like some time after I graduated. But I started tattooing when I was in the third year of university, and this was like really the first thing in my life that really made me focus on something for hours. Like I was very kind of hyperactive, even like studying I could not sit for like more than 1 hour doing something. But with the tattoos was like, okay, like full focus, and this was really good for me. So I really fell in love for the process itself, for the meeting. But Scar was still something distant. And I had a friend that we met from before we both start the body mod journey. I started tattooing and he started piercing. And after a couple of years, he started doing scars. So when like just got the electric scalpel, because these ones on my shoulder, they're burned. The top part they are burned and the bottom is cut after years we done it. The first scar I ever done was this, and this I have like some of them that are natural. You can see the difference. These ones they're different from the rest, and it connect to the back. So the idea was like just to make a pattern continuing. We did it burning. It was maybe his fourth scar of his life, and we didn't have any idea of what we were doing. We just like, let's do it. And I told him like, if it doesn't raise, I'm gonna be really pissed, you know. So we really dig it inside. It was really brutal, but it was very kind of liberating for me, you know. It was really empowering because after doing so many painful shit to remove scars, I went through the same pain basically to get them done. And this was really, I think, the moment where I shift of this acceptance thing to really accept it and really be proud of it. And this was a really powerful moment. 1 month after I came to Europe the first time, and it was like the moment of my life where I decided to kind of quit the psychology thing because I was tattooing and working with psychology. My bills were all paid with the psychology, you know. The tattooing was something that I really loved doing, and I was doing and getting demands of friends and friends of friends and blah blah blah, and I was just keeping it up and because I loved it. But then was the moment that I decided to really try to live out of it, you know. So I came to Europe the first time with like my tattoo stuff, and I had one friend in Europe, and I said, okay, let's see what happens. And in this first month I was in Berlin. I stayed the whole visa time in Berlin because I really loved the city. I made connections and I was really happy there. So I didn't have much money also to travel around, you know. I was doing like scars for people I meet by connection, and Jan was in Berlin, and he was for me like the one I admire the most, you know. And I said like I never really wrote to a big artist, you know. All my tattoos were done by friends, and he was the first person that I really like. Man, I really want something from this guy, you know. So I wrote him. I told him about the story of the back with the scars, that I have tattoos all over my body but not on the back, and that I want him to do something there because of the scars, very special for me, and I want even something very small from him, you know. And when we met, he was like with this crazy idea of a back piece, you know. Jan is like, yeah, we're gonna do this and that, and I was like, okay, I was ready for something smaller, but man, like I'm here with you, of course I'm gonna go for it, you know. And like it was the first cutting I've done, so it was really funny because I was like, I don't know, for 3 days before I was not drinking, you know, like not like really taking care of my body, and I meet Jan like midday drinking a beer, you know. And I'm like, I need to drink a beer with you, you know, fuck it, you know. Like, yeah, man. So we drank the whole afternoon, you know, with projecting the thing, and became like really good connection. And we did the first part of the back piece, and this made me really fall in love for the process of scarification. Like the burning was a very powerful process, but the cutting with Jan and the ink rubbing and all this, and also by the time, from what I learned from him, was like scrubbing with sugar, you know. So it was the full bag full of cuts, scrubbing with sugar, that shit, and put ink. And I remember like on the process I cried a lot, and not from the pain, but to realize like how fucked up am I in a way to need to go through something that intense and crazy and really intense to feel that amount of self-love that I was feeling for myself in that moment, you know. And I was like, man, I never loved myself so much as in that moment. And from there on I really feel that I appropriate of my body, my scars, and I was like, I really want to learn how to do this, you know. Like I was tattooing for 4 or 5 years, 4 years. Me and Jan got friends. We became friends. So I asked him as a friend, like if I could watch him working a bit. And he was always very welcome to me since the beginning, which I feel very lucky and very proud, because he was not my teacher, you know, he was not my master, but just by watching him working, inspiring. And I think, yeah, it's very inspiring. Jan was a very inspiring person in many ways, you know, and to have the opportunity to see him working, because I've saw many scarification artists working after, and it's very different, you know. Jan was very special, and I think I carry a bit of this from the reference, from the memory, from the powerful moments, you know. And this really marked me, and also his work always marked me. So like to to see it was also very liberating and empowering. Okay, we can do this like that, you know. I remember it took 1 year from when I got the back piece to the first scar I've done. And this whole year I was really wanting to do it, but I was kind of afraid, you know. Also because with tattooing you don't, I mean, I was a tattooer that was still like not in this point to understand that the pain is a very powerful process. I was a tattooer that I was still doing small pieces, and when the person is too much pain, I was still feeling a bit like, you know, like not
Hesitant.
pushing so much. And with the scar, and also especially after my scar, especially after doing stuff on my body that was really painful process, and I was really like in the bottom of the like, fuck, and how much power this brought to me, that I learned that I can deal with that, and I can
Overcome.
yeah, and also like to deal with that to other people, you know, that I can conduce other people through this intense journey, because this is going to be very powerful for them, you know. So it was in this year that I was kind of preparing myself to do it. Also because I didn't have properly a master to sit down with me and do, so I was waiting, you know, until I feel very ready. And was after my first suspension with Alex in Dijanak that I felt like, I remember that I saw him working, and to have like these two different ways of working, Ian and Alex, was really good for me, because like I could see myself kind of in between with my tattoo skills, with my tattoo development. I felt that okay, I feel that I can do that, you know, but I was still not ready. And after I suspend the first time, I remember that when I came down, one of the first thoughts I had is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready, because the suspension for me was very difficult and intense. But after I felt like, I don't know, like holding this power, you know. And I was like, okay, the first thing I do, it was in Nepal. I went to Kathmandu street in the medical shops, and I bought scalpels. I didn't even know like different brands and stuff. I just bought the scalpels they had, and tried to find people to do it, you know. And it took 2 weeks that I was like offering to everybody like a maniac, you know, like people, random people traveling. I was like, hey, maybe you know, have you heard of scarification? Maybe you want to get cut. I never did it, but maybe why not, you know. And like offering to everybody. And at one point I found 3 people. We gather like these 3 people and say, okay, let's go hike in the waterfall. We bring everything we need, and we make these rituals there, you know, this little process there. And it was really nice. It was really nice. Also, I was traveling in India with only hand poke stuff, so I got kind of used in this trip to work with the hand poke without electricity. You can do whatever place, so it was like really fun to go to the waterfall and make a tattoo, to go to the so with the scar was really nice. We went to the waterfall, we hiked there, we camped there and spent the night there and do the 3 scars, you know. And this was like, I really felt that my whole tattoo journey was to bring me to that point, you know, because I felt really, I don't know, really connected to that process, really natural for me also. I feel that once I start doing with scars, and I was really lucky after this trip first, still in the trip, more people came. When I came to Europe, I met some people that were already interested about my scarification work, even though it was right in the beginning. And I think this makes you grow a lot also, when you have people willing to give themselves for your learning also, you know. Of course, was everything very clear, like they knew that I was starting, but they wanted this for me, and this was also very honoring, you know. So it was really fast. I think the first year of Scar, I got a lot of work. I also quit tattooing for this first year. I was really like, I don't want to tattoo anymore. That's what I want to do. Like, so I focused 100% on that. After it started to balance again, and I was like, okay, I come back to tattoo. I really like this as well. But it was important this first year that I was like full power. I came back to Brazil like a militant of the scarification. I think also open a new chapter of Brazilian scarification. I'm not saying like me only, but Pombo and this new generation that I mean, you know, because we came full power, like, you know, like, bam. And I think it motivated a lot of like people to get it done or to start doing it as well, you know. It was me, João, and Ana and Filippo. We were at Kit Kat in Berlin. We got like wasted the whole night, and then like it was 9 in the morning. We were like totally collapsing, and we say, that's the perfect moment to get a bicho solto tattoo, you know. So let's go to Kopi and do it in the yard because it's nice, you know. So we go and pick up the tattoo stuff, set up in the yard, like, because also we didn't want to wake up anybody, so we just like, yeah, let's do in the yard because it's fitting, you know. So we just fix like the little chairs, the station, and lay the head on the sitting on the floor, you know. I tattoo João the bicho solto on the face. I tattoo Ana the bicho solto on the back of the leg. João tattooed my head, and João tattooed Filipa also on the leg.